Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we have a little bit different of a video. Basically going to talk about 36 millimeter watches, and it's 36 millimeter too small. Well, I know 36 millimeter is definitely the minimum size for my preference, and even at that, maybe they're too small. I don't know. I'm still trying to decide if 36 millimeter is okay for me. For certain watches, I would say that it is. For others, I would say not. So let me get these watches off of here. We'll talk about each of them individually. I have made note of all of the dimensions, and I can talk about the dimensions real quick. And I have sort of arranged them by size. They're almost all 36. Some are a little bit smaller and some a little bit larger. So this watch here is a custom Explorer 1016 homage watch. And the dimensions on this, looking at 43.6 lug to lug. And then diameter is 36. Thickness is 12. And then lug width is 20, and that does taper down to 16. A little bit of wear on this one. All right, so next we'll look at the Armida A11. Lug to lug is 43.8. Case diameter on this is actually 35, but the bezel is 36. The thickness we're looking at 12, and lug width is 18, and that does taper down to 16. Kind of hard to see that taper. Okay, next we have the oldest watch of the bunch. This one is from around the early to mid 90s. This is a Tudor oyster prints date day, model number 94613. So lug to lug, looking at 44.1. Case diameter, looking at 36. The thickness without the Cyclops, we're looking at a 12 millimeter thick, and lug width on this is 20. This is an aftermarket Strap Mill Canada leather strap, and I of course purchased this watch used, and it came with another aftermarket strap, so I don't have the bracelet for this. Maybe I'll try and source one day. I don't know. I like how it looks on this leather strap here. Lastly, Grand Seiko. It's actually a Seiko Grand Seiko before they removed Seiko from the dial. I don't know the year of this watch, but this is the SBGR053. So with the fixed male center links, 48 millimeter, and then lug to lug of the case, which does slope down quite a bit, looking at 44.3. And the diameter of this watch, depending on how you measure it, if you measure from here to here, it's 36, but then I try to come to the crown, and just over here I'm getting about 37, so I don't know if this is considered 36 or 37, so it's in the ballpark anyway. Thickness on this thing, this is really thick at 13.7 millimeter thick. I'm sorry, 13.4 millimeter thick, and this has a funky lug width, 19 millimeter, and it does taper just barely. It tapers down to 18. Not quite sure why they bothered, but it does have a taper. And this one is screw links. I would say of the bunch, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I think this one's more, current market prices. This one's probably a little more expensive than this one, but they might be pretty close in price. This watch here, $399 from the Armida website. I'll try and leave a link to that in the description. And this one, released a video on this one a little while ago. This is made up of some custom parts. The parts alone on this, I believe the price is about $425, and then you have to consider the price of, well, either a watchmaker putting it together for you, or if you have the ability, you can put it together yourself. And actually, believe it or not, the only watch with a Japanese movement is the Grand Seiko. So imagine that. So I can show you this movement. Actually, I can show you both. I can show you the Grand Seiko movement, and I can show you this movement here. This has a Swiss ETA. Pretty sure it's a 2824-2 movement. Yeah, actually, kind of get off topic here. I'm supposed to be talking about watch size, but this one has a 2836 ETA movement, 2836-2. I'm not sure what this has. This has some sort of ETA movement. And Grand Seiko, I don't actually know the exact reference of this movement. It might actually tell us on here. I believe that's it there, 9S65A. Gorgeous movement. Grand Seiko movement finishing and watch finishing is just next level. It's very good. But then you have to deal with thick watch, and then also this clasp is not all that great. So, but anyway, let me get each of these on wrist, and then we'll talk about watch sizes. Set these off to the side. I think for each one, I'll maintain, well, we'll start with this zoom level, then I'll zoom out, and then back in for each watch. They do look different from different zoom levels. So I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and maybe a little small on my wrist. I don't know. I go back and forth. Sometimes I think it looks fine, and other times not. I think this is an okay size for me. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about smaller watches. Here we are. So zoomed out, it looks a little smaller, I guess. So that's the Explorer Homage watch. We'll go to this one here. This one's a little tricky. Most times I look at it, I think it's too small. I think a 36mm dive watch looks too small. You have less dial there because you have the rotating dive bezel, so it shrinks down the dial a little bit. And this does have the 35mm case, so that's a little bit deceiving as well. I don't have any other 36mm dive watches. But if you guys are okay with the size of this watch, $400, this is a great deal. I mean, ETA movement, sapphire crystal, solid link bracelet, dive extension, all that good stuff. It's decent lume too. BGW9 lume, but the indices and the hands are large, so a lot of lume applied to those. Really like this style of bracelet too. So let me know in the comments which of these 4 watches you would keep or like to own, or however you want to look at it. Really like this watch. Closest thing I have to a Rolex, I guess. Well, I have another Tudor as well, but that Tudor does not have a Rolex crown on it. It also doesn't say case by Rolex on the back. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think it says original oyster case by Rolex Geneva. So anyway, let's get this on wrist. I have not worn this watch in a while. I synced up the hands, but I did not sync up the date. I try not to monkey with this watch too much. It is, I guess I would consider it vintage from the early to mid 90s. I'm always afraid of stripping out the crown or whatever. You never know. It is gold. I think it's 18 karat gold crown and bezel. Plexiglass crystal. Just a cool watch. I really like this watch. I'm happy that I was able to pick it up. I was wanting to buy a Datejust, a similar style, not a day date, but just a regular Rolex Datejust. And COVID happened and the prices went crazy on them. So I don't know if I ever pick up a Datejust or not. So here it is. Such a cool case shape. So this one is on a strap, of course, so that kind of, skews the comparison here. I'm not sure if a strap makes the watch look bigger or smaller as compared to a bracelet. Similar kind of style case here as well, the oyster case, but this case is aftermarket $50 case. So I think for this watch, I like it with 36 millimeter. The other three, I'm not so sure. We'll put the Grand Seiko on wrist now. Not worn this watch in a while either. Such a cool watch, very impeccable finishing. I mean, I'm not an expert on finishing, but this looks very nice to me. We'll look at it here in a minute after we zoom back in. We get it on wrist here. It does have a half link, but really no micro adjusts, so actually 2 half links. Thankfully, this has screw pins though, as opposed to pin and collar on my other one. Yeah, I think this looks okay too. Those male end links really increase the look, increase the size of the watch on wrist. It is thick though, it's really thick. Normally I'm not a fan. I guess always I'm not a fan of thick watches unless it's a dive watch, then it's understandable because it needs to be thick for the water resistance. But this here is a push-pull crown, 100-meter water resistant dress watch. I know some folks like the thickness because it you can kind of consider it being a dress watch and also just an everyday watch because it's a little bit thicker. So yeah, it's a cool watch. Anyway, let's take a minute to look at the finishing and then we'll close out the video. I think only one of these, actually 2 of these watches have lume. Actually, this one does too. 3 watches have lume, but that's not the point of the video. This lume's not going to be very good. Very nice watch. And it's highly polished, so you can see my fingerprints clear as a day. I'll wipe them off and then probably touch it again on video and you'll see my fingerprints again. Even did a good job at that. Alright, so let's zoom out one more time and put these watches side by side and let me know your pick. Put them in order kind of by size. So 2 of these watches you'd have to buy used, no longer in production. This one you can pick up today for $400, and this one you'd have to build yourself. So that's one cool thing about a custom watch is you're probably pretty much going to be the only one with that watch. So there we go. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment below. And I really do appreciate you guys watching and leaving comments below. And until next time, talk to you soon.